Hello everyone, very good morning and good evening. Welcome to our SAP Step Up Circles. I hope you all are able to hear me loud and clear. If you're able to hear me loud and clear, quickly LC in the chat window. Quickly LC in the chat window. If you're able to hear me loud and clear, LC in the chat window. Thank you. Thank you very much for mentioning LC loud and clear. Thank you very much. I would be quickly starting my session, but before starting my session, which is today on SAP IBP overview, I will just let you guys know that we are running on to the webinar mode, which means you guys would not be having access to unmute yourself. But anytime, if you have any questions, you can feel free to put it on the chat. Okay, anytime if you have any question, you can feel free to put it on chat. We'll go through the questions in the chat and we'll answer in between. We'll be taking a break to answer your questions. But if by any chance we miss any of your question, you can also drop your questions to us on support@shastrageek.com. So myself plus Sam, we both together will be running this session. I will start it up with giving you some basic overview, and then later on I will hand it over to Sam, who would be going ahead and give you the more IBP overview. He's actually the main expert of IBP. So before I get it started, I just want to know my audience a little bit better. So if you can mention your SAP module in the chat, any SAP module which you are working, you might be working as a consultant, end user, key user, or you are just learning, you're not working, you are just learning a particular SAP module, or you are thinking to learn. Okay, you are thinking, okay, I would be learning this particular module, right? Or if you say that, okay, I am right now, I don't belong to SAP, I just came into this session to have some knowledge on IBP. You can also mention NA, not applicable. I don't have any kind of experience, exposure, or I'm not related to SAP as of now. Quickly, your module names. Okay, we have people here from a lot of, some people are there from IBP background, some people are from PP, ABAP, MM, PP, S4HANA, experienced people are there, FICO consultants are there. So we have a mix of audience here. We have a different module people available here. So the way we would be conducting this session, it would be I would just let you know that what are the things we'll be covering and how we will be covering the things, because I'm having a different set of audience available here. Not everybody is related to planning. So before we speak about IBP, I would be covering and letting you know that what is IBP, what is planning basically, and what kind of different planning tools are there, and where IBP sits in. So that is the brief part. I would be covering it. Then it will be over to Sam. Sam would be covering that. What is IBP, what kind of modules are there in IBP, right? And what kind of things can be done with IBP. We'll try to take you through some IBP screens also so that you can have a little bit of overview of how the IBP screens look like. And then Sam will also cover what kind of curriculum, if you want to learn IBP, what are the things you need to learn it. Then it will switch back to me again, and then I will be going through the career opportunities in IBP, that what kind of career opportunities are there if you want to learn, what you need to do it. And if you learn SAP IBP, or if you look forward IBP as a career, what kind of career opportunities are there? We'll try to demystify the career opportunities within SAP IBP. That's we would be covering it. And then if you have any open question and answers through your chat, we would be answering those questions. So that's how the sequence and structure of this session would be there. So without wasting any time, let's quickly get it started and let's jump on to the topic, SAP IBP. You all came here to know about SAP IBP, right? Now, what is SAP IBP? We would be talking about what actually the IBP is. It's called Integrated Business Planning, right? But basically, it's a planning tool. Basically, it's a planning engine which does the planning, right? And I know a lot of people have joined from the technical background, FICO background, no SAP experience. So I just want to make sure you understand, before you understand SAP IBP, you understand planning. So after end of the today's session, I want you that anywhere you go, at least you would be getting from today's session that here, what is IBP? IBP है क्या? What kind of planning scenarios handle? How business can use IBP, or what kind of benefits business can take it from IBP? That kind of understanding you would be developing, or which departments in the business IBP can support. That kind of understanding you will be getting it. And if you want to learn SAP IBP, what are the things you need to do it? We have both kind of self-paced training in IBP, and we also have instructor-led trainings available in IBP. My team would be sharing those links also. We are keep on doing the batches for IBP, and the next batch also is next live batch is also going to start very soon, and Sam is the trainer for it. If you would like to join our training session, the support team will provide the link for the same at the end of the session. Okay, let's first jump into what is planning, right? Because the multiple different kind of audience are there, it would be good to understand ki, bhaiya, what is planning. And I will also take you through the different kind of planning tools are there, right? Where those different tools, different planning tool sets, that's also we'll be discussing it. But let's try to understand what is planning. Now, planning is required in different areas, right? In different areas, the plannings are required. So first thing I'm talking about in the sales. When we talk about sales, there is a common name which came into the picture, SOP. It's not standard operating procedures, but it's sales and operations planning. Sales and operations planning comes into the picture. Now, what is sales and operations planning? And that is very, that is very common kind of planning which is required everywhere across the industries, across the businesses. This kind of planning is required. Now, what is sales planning? What is standard? Again, I'm saying standard, it's not standard operating procedure, but it's sales and operations planning. What is sales and operations planning? Let's say you are selling cars, right? When you sell cars, you would be having a different models of the cars, right? You would be having a model, let's say BMW X1, BMW X2, BMW X3, and multiple different variants, right? When you do your planning, that how much of the sales we are expecting in next year, January, how much of the sales I am expecting. February, how much of the sales I am expecting. March, how much of the sales I am expecting. April, how much of the sales I am expecting. Right? That figures you need to identify that how much of the sales we are expecting or how much of the sales we are forecasting to do it. And this happens in the most of the industries, specifically the industries which is kind of a make to stock industry. It does not apply to the industry which is completely which is completely make to order. Let's say you sell aeroplanes, right? You don't produce aeroplane and store it, right? So that part would not be there. Otherwise, for there also there would be some forecast so that you can plan the raw materials actually if the order comes, right? But it is very significant across the industry and specifically main make to stock industry. You need to plan it. Some companies plan it for 12 months. Next 12 months, they would be having a planning. Some companies would be having a planning for 24 months. Some companies 36 months, and some company would be planning beyond 36 months. And they would be improving these plans. So what we are planning here that in this month, this model, I'm targeting to sell 5,000. In February month, my expected sale is 4,000, then 5,500. These kind of figures we require for all sort of my products or major products, the final products which I am selling it. I need to plan for them. I need to have my set planning for them. Now, from where these figures are coming? Okay, from where these all figures are coming? These all figures will come from a planning engine. Okay, and that the what kind of planning it is? The planning is called sales and operations planning, or it is also called the demand planning. It can be called demand planning. I am also telling you some terminologies which is used so that it's very important to understand, to visualize the business process before you understand the IT tool. So that's what I'm trying to visualize you that what are the business processes are there where these kind of tools would be required, right? This is also called, so the terminologies which you're using, sales and operations planning, demand planning, forecasting. This is also called forecasting. For this forecasting, the different kind of models would be required. I would be taking the historical requirements of my sales, and I would be putting a lot of other influencing factors, that what kind of growth I'm expecting. Okay, this was my historical sales, what I'm expecting in the market, what are the other factors are there, that I would be considering it. I would be considering my capacity, how much actually I can produce it. I need to consider my supply chain capacities also. I need to make sure my production team, my production department is in sync with this plan. My supply chain department, the supply team, the procurement team is in sync with it, because they need to also ensure that vendor has a capability to match these figures, right? My sales and marketing team also agrees with this figure. And when everybody agrees with this figure, this is called the consensus of demand, right? So that kind of planning would be required. This planning is called sales and operation planning, or it is called your demand planning. So to plan, to understand, and this is a very, very big topic. Now, the first thing before I say that how this planning would be happening, why this planning is required. This planning is required because until unless you don't plan it, you would not be able to backtrack and do the other plannings. You also need to plan how much of the production you would be doing in each month, which products. Based on that, you need to ensure that whether the resources are there, where the manpowers are there, where the machine capabilities are there, right? All these things you need to arrange it. And then whether I would be able to supply. I need to also plan my supply, right? Anything which I am planning to sell in January, there can be the long lead times. Maybe I would be buying those materials in the month of June, and I would be producing in the month of September, so that it is available for sale in the month of January. So sometimes the lead cycles are as long as that the buying process need to start a year ago. It totally depends on the materials lead times, right? So I need to make sure I have a sales planning. I need to make sure that I should have a production plan. I need to make sure that I should have a supply plan. Now, all these plans are linked with each other, and this demand plan is very important, from where it would be starting, so that I know how much of the sales I'm expecting in each month. This is expected sales. Actuals one can be different, right? And this will lead further to my production plan, and this will lead further to my supply plan, to my supply planning, production planning, supply plan. Okay, so production planning need to be fine-tuned with this, and then the supply planning need to be fine-tuned with this. And to do this, we have a different tools which can be used. It now, all idea you will get it when you go into the training. Every session you would be getting to able to understand these kind of planning, and where IBP would be coming into picture, you would be able to know more. Now, here, to manage these things, to manage S&OP, what kind of tools SAP has? Let me ask you, to manage the sales and operations planning, what kind of products or tools SAP offers? Quickly in the chat. What kind of products or tools SAP offers? If you don't know the answer, you can type NI. Feel free to type NI if you don't know the answer. Quickly, everyone. So what we do, we use these hacks to ask the question to you, so that you should be able to think through, and you should be able to type something. As soon as you use your fingers on the keyboard, your focus shift back to this session. That's what we want to make sure. It's difficult to being focused in the session. To make sure your focus come back to this session, I would be asking some questions to you. Try to answer them. If you don't know the answer, just type NI, no idea. Okay. Some people said APO we can use. Very good. Yes, APO we can use. Advanced planning and optimization can be used. PPDS for S&OP purpose, we don't use it. There's a separate purpose for PPDS. MRP, no. With MRP, we cannot do S&OP. MRP is not a tool of S&OP. Now, that is also a role of a kind of a planning architect, because within SAP and outside products combination also, there are so many different planning products are there, that you need to clearly understand for which kind of business, what kind of planning tools would be required. That is important to understand, right? PPDS, APO, IBP. Now, different tools are there, but these different tools would be solving the different purpose. C4C, IBP. Okay. Now, this planning solution from SAP, earlier it was coming it within the ECC, there was a module, and even S4HANA also has that module that is called S&OP planning, sales and operations planning. We cover this part in our PP training also, sales and operations planning in ECC and S4HANA, you can do it. But that sales and operations planning is very basic in nature. That sales and operation planning is very basic in nature. Most of the clients, when they try to use, they are not able to fulfill their requirement because the algorithms, the forecast algorithms which is required, that is not at mark available. That's why SAP has said long back in 2016 itself, the tool is available, but SAP has marked it for obsolescence. SAP said that this is not the tool we are recommending you to use for sales and operations planning. It's a old tool. We have not improved it for a long time. If you use it, you got stuck somewhere, you need improvement, you need bug fixing, will not support you because it's already marked for obsolescence. So a basic tool is available. It's part of the PP production planning, PP module, S&OP planning, but it's marked for obsolescence. Even SAP does not recommend to use it, right? What SAP was recommending earlier to use the tool for this kind of purposes, to use APO. Within APO, we have a sub-modules called demand planning. APO demand planning can be used for it, right? APO demand planning can be used. So APO is a product. Now APO is a product which has a sub-modules. So within APO, demand planning or demand management module would be able to help you to do this thing. That was the thing. Now APO is going to sunset. If you guys does not know, APO is going to sunset. Now, because APO is going to sunset, SAP brought a new tool, which is a cloud-based product. What is that new tool which SAP brought is IBP. Now, if you will ask me today, Parminder, that for this scenario, the sales and operations planning, what is the proposed solution from SAP? The proposed solution from SAP is IBP, Integrated Business Planning. That is a proposed solution from IBP. If you want to do demand planning, it does not mean that IBP can only do the demand planning, but this demand planning, sales and operations planning is one of the key product, in IBP. And this area is also very concerned and very important area for any organization, because if this planning is not there, this is the fundamental planning. If this planning is not there, and if the discrepancies in your forecast is high, you crash everywhere. You crash in your production department. In the production, you get crash. You are not able to producing correctly. Your plant is not correctly. Your supply chain also crashed completely. If this is not properly done. That's why it is very important. And that's why a lot of people are going to the products and the tools like IBP to do this solution. And earlier they were doing in APO. Now they are trying to do on IBP because APO is going to sunset. IBP would be the product for it, right? Can you let me know apart, other than SAP, IBP is SAP product. What are the solution outside the market, which is not a SAP product? What are the solutions outside the market? Do you know any product names who can do this kind of plannings? Kinexus, O9, very good. Anaplan, that's right. Kinexus, O9, Anaplan. Oracle also has a solution. JDA also has a solution. So JDA has a solution. Kinexus has a solution. Kinexus is a separate software. O9 is the one which has a solution. Oracle has a solution, right? So multiple different products are there in the market. Multiple different products are there in the market. There are the companies who have adopted for Kinexus. There are the companies who have adopted for O9 also. And there are a lot of companies who are adapting to IBP. What is the strongest part in IBP? You know, strongest part in IBP is SAP product. Who is SAP? No, there's no introduction is required to SAP, right? SAP is the ERP solution. It's a company which provides the ERP softwares, which they claim the world's 80% revenue passes through the SAP products somewhere. World's 80% revenue passes through the SAP products. That big the company is. So SAP is a flagship runner when it comes to the ERP. And a lot of companies are using ECC. A lot of big Fortune 500 companies are using S4HANA. So when they are using the same company, one product, the another product comes which can be easily integrated with it, they prefer to use it. And SAP also tried to sell it in a package, make it more lucrative offers for them so that more people can adopt to IBP. More people, more companies adopting to IBP, integrated business planning, which can do the same thing which we are talking about, sales and operations planning, which means more consultants are required, more people are required, more jobs it is creating it, right? I will talk about the jobs at the end, but this is one kind of planning that's called the sales and operations planning. Now, another set of planning here is that once this planning has been done for this, you need to go at the bottom level, and then you need to try to understand that this what would be the production plan for this, because this is just a forecast. What would be the production plan for it, and how this machine capability would be using, how the machine capacities can be used. Okay, so you need to do the production plan. Production plan you can do for the finished goods or your semi-finished goods. You need to do the production plan. Now, to create this production plan, the multiple solutions are available. Now, MRP comes into the picture. MRP is material requirement planning. This material requirement planning, again, it's a planning terminology. This is a planning tool which has a institute who has developed the algorithms for MRP. So this MRP as a product, as a tool, as a planning engine, it's a standard, right? It's a standard terminology not owned by SAP. This function is available in ECC as well and in S4HANA as well. Now, this is a very complicated topic, and we go into the hours and hours of discussion with the clients that which exact product would be delivering what part of your planning, right? So when you will be going your full 30 plus hours of training in IBP, you would be able to understand from certain level that if it comes to IBP, which particular area and plannings IBP would be able to support more. But MRP is a basic functionality which can give you the production plans. If you need little bit advanced production planning, which is called the detailed scheduling, where the capacity constraints also comes into the picture, where you should plan it based on the available capacity of your machines, or in other words, which is called work centers. Then the another tool come into the picture, which is available through S4HANA now, is PPDS. Production planning and detailed scheduling will come into the picture. Production planning and detailed scheduling will come into the picture. PPDS is another product which can give you the detailed schedule production plan going into the minutes and seconds level, and planning based on the constraint, capacity constraint, taking care of them and planning based on that. That is a solution available through the production planning. PPDS is another module in S4HANA, and it is available through APO also, because APO is getting sunset. So that PPDS product now came into the S4HANA, right? Into the S4HANA. Now, supply planning is basically your raw material planning, you can say. Or in other words, you can say procurement planning. Now, the procurement planning, you can get it done. The solutions are available. The very basic solution is MRP, which is used a lot. Material requirement planning, basic algorithms are there. You can use it a lot. Supply planning is also available through IBP. You can also use it through the IBP. The supply planning is available from there also. PPDS also has a solution. It can generate your plans for the supply planning. Generally, if we don't have a complexity, if basic things are there, we use MRP. If we have a complexity, we try to go towards the IBP. All the PPDS has a capability, but it does not have that level of capabilities which is required to address a lot of complexity. Better we go through the IBP as a product for the procurement planning, right? MRP can also be used for the basic planning. Now, if you want to understand MRP, material requirement planning. So these all are spread into the different modules, and they are the separate consultants. MRP is generally handled by SAP PP consultant, production planning consultant. They handle the MRP. In our trainings also, in the PP mastery and PP excellence training, we train about the we train the MRP, right? Then there's a new terminology also comes into the picture, which is called DDMR, demand driven MRP. This is a solution you can call it for your inventory planning, better inventory planning. This is also available through IBP and through S4 HANA. We provide a video for the DDMRP for the IBP people, and the DDMRP is also available through in our S4 HANA PP Excellence course. Just give me a minute. Okay. Okay, so these are the different planning tools are there. I just try to give you the clarity that what is the planning and where it would be required. First, we need to forecast it. Once we have forecasted that how much I would be selling it, then we need to plan it, how much I need to produce it, when I need to produce it. Okay, and then once that planning has been done, how much I need to procure it. These are the three very basic and the core planning I have talked about, but there can be much more complex scenarios in the plannings can be there to identify the different. If I have 6 sources available, the material can come from 2 vendors and 2 plants. That kind of complexities are there, which is called the source planning, or which is called the source determination. Those kind of complex planning solutions are also available through IBP. In short, in nutshell, what I will say, in nutshell, ECC I will not talk about. ECC is going to sunset. In nutshell, I will talk about S4 HANA with their is basic enterprise license comes with MRP, material requirement planning, right? Comes with MRP and also comes with DDMRP. So S4 HANA as a product has a very basic and core capabilities with MRP to plan your production and to plan your supply chain, right? To plan basic capability to plan the production, to plan the supply chain. It does not have a capability to do the S&OP planning. A basic tool is there which is marked for obsoleted. Demand planning basically it does not it has demand planning, but demand planning need to be done through the IBP. That's what SAP suggests, right? Then if you pay a little bit extra within S4 HANA, if you pay a little bit extra in S4 HANA, you can get a solutions like PPDS, production planning and detailed scheduling. You can get it where you would be able to do a detailed production planning. Okay, detailed production planning within S4 HANA with extra license. If you want to go beyond that with the complex solutions of demand planning, sales and operations planning, complex network supply planning solutions, those kind of solution you require it, then you need to adopt to IBP, Integrated Business Planning, which is a separate cloud product which get integrated with your S4 HANA system. Okay, which get integrated with your S4 HANA systems. I'm not talking about APO because APO is also going to sunset. So basic planning with S4 HANA, with little bit detailed production planning with one more license, with paying extra license, you can go for PPDS. Full-fledged planning solution with all the complex scenario, go for IBP, integrate with S4 HANA, or IBP can also be used as a standalone. IBP can also be used as a standalone system, which can also integrate actually, and it can be used with other ERPs also. With Oracle ERP also, you can integrate and use for the planning functions. That's way they have built that product. Okay. Now, the same thing I have mentioned in the mind maps, the same thing I have tried to explain you here. Ki bhaiya, what is planning? Planning kya hai? What is planning? And uh, what kind of different solutions are there in the planning? Now with that, I will quickly hand it over to Sam so that he can take further and we can further discuss about IBP. Now once you have this basic understanding, let's take a deeper dive into the IBP with Sam. So before that, if you have any kind of question, you can feel free to ask. If you don't have any question, put NQ. NQ means no question. Put NQ if you have any question, put it on the chat. By the time I will hand it over to Sam, in between, we'll try to address it. Sam, are you there? To take people into much deeper on the IBP, and at last we'll be talking about the career opportunities. You guys will not be having unmute access. This is we are doing in a webinar mode. You can put your questions in the chat. Okay. Yeah, Sam, you would be able to have unmute access. Let me go through the couple of questions.
Okay, thanks, Parminder. Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, so first we will do, I will give you a quick introduction about Sam, and then we will quickly go through a few of the questions are there in the chat, and then we'll get it started. So let me first introduce you, Sam. Sam, first of all, thank you very much for taking your time out and giving for this session. I know you are busy in the multiple projects, and this time is difficult. So thank you for providing the time to us. So me and Sam, we are working together for so many years. I think for last 14, 15 years, we know each other. Sam is basically having more than 20 plus years of experience. He comes from very core experience of production and production planning. He has a domain experience as a production planner, manufacturing. He has a domain experience there. He has also a very good knowledge of the PP module, which is a core module production planning. And then he has a history of doing a long consulting for APO. He was a consultant for APO for so many years. And then as soon as the IBP started, he involved into the IBP project. So he is one and the only who is there. If you'll find IBP resources in the market, you will find very less resources who have experience in IBP. But I think Sam has more than 8 years of experience in IBP. As soon as the IBP came into the picture, he is doing the IBP projects from them. So he has a quite versatile experience in IBP. Anything related to planning comes, whether it's APO, whether it's PP, whether it's IBP, he has knowledge across the different products. Even not even this in his career, he has also need to handle some another connexes and another products also. So those area he has also knowledge of. So with that brief introduction, Sam, very warm welcome to this session.
Thanks, Parminder. Let me share my screen.
Sure, let me stop sharing it. And by the time you are sharing it, I will also stop my video. I will quickly check if few questions we can answer now. I have one question on PMRP is included. So PMRP, people who does not know, PMRP is predictive MRP. Predictive MRP, if you want to use an S4 HANA, right? That is a solution in S4 HANA. Very basic solution of kind of your long-term planning. Very basic solution for long-term planning. But if you need a very detailed solution with the complex scenarios, that is available through IBP. Okay, that is available through IBP. How SAP IBP different from SAP planning? SAP planning is very generic terminology. Planning covers so many things. So IBP is one of the product of the planning, which is the core SAP's core product of the planning. You can say it, right? SAP planning is a generic terminology. Under the SAP planning umbrella, SAP IBP is a major product. Could you talk about CBP? CBP, I leave it to Sam. Maybe if he gets time, he will speak on CBP. Do you also support getting placed? Yeah, very good question has been asked. And let me tell you what kind of services we have. We have a self-paced training which you can go through. We have an instructor-led training with server available. You can go through the instructor-led training also. Sam would be the trainer for it. And we also have a mock interviews. Within the mock interview also in the instructor-led training, the last 1 or 2 session will be preparing you for the mock interviews. And after that, we also have a service where basically you can take a one-to-one session that would be charged on the hourly basis. You can take one-to-one session with Sam. He has helped so many people going one-to-one and making them prepare for the interviews. And even we also provide the on-job support. When you get into the IBP, IBP is a very complex topic, right? Sometimes people are not able to handle the things, right? So you require additional support. So that additional support can also be provided. So we have a on-job support or any additional one-to-one session which you required it for preparing for the interviews or guiding you something specifically. One-to-one sessions are available, but that are charged on the hourly basis. Then self-paced training is available. Instructor-led trainings are also available. And we have a very good support to make sure that you are well prepared to go into the IBP jobs. IBP is not embedded to S4HANA. IBP question is IBP not embedded to S4HANA. No, IBP is not embedded to S4HANA. It's a cloud product which integrate with S4HANA. With answering to this basic question, Sam, over to you.
Thanks, Parminder. I think you very well briefed about a concept of planning. I was undergoing the list of participants here. Most of the participants either have experience in different SAP modules. Some have exposure to SAP production planning, some have exposure to SAP materials management, and so on, right? And almost all of us would also have a curiosity to understand what is all about IBP and why IBP is in so much of demand nowadays, right? So when somebody says that IBP is in so much of demand, the root cause is supply chain planning is in demand. And IBP is one of the core application who helps organizations managing their supply chain planning processes. Right. So Parminder talked about S&OP process, right, which is more of a collaborative mechanism within an organization to come up across consensus demand alignment. It talks about demand forecasting. It talks about supply planning. Parminder also talked about different time horizons from planning perspective, whereas he mentioned in the short-term horizon, you can achieve production planning, detailed scheduling part, but that's not covered with IBP. You have a advanced module within S4HANA now to support that short-term production planning and detailed scheduling feature. So that means there will be a good amount of close integration between planning functions, whether it's a mid-term to long-term plan, whether it's a short-term plan, and from the execution perspective, right? The slide what I'm showcasing here talks about different modules within IBP. In our execution journey, we talked about different modules like SAP production planning, SAP materials management, SAP sales and distribution, and so on, right? Similarly, IBP can also have, or it can also support multiple processes. And in order to apply those multiple processes using a systematic way, there are respective modules associated with it. So I'll start with the common module which is used within IBP by most of the organizations is sales and operations planning, which supports in a way a strategic or tactical planning process in the midterm to long-term horizon. Any organization who wants to carry out their sales and operations planning in midterm to long-term horizon, the preferred choice will be IBP. And I will come back to that point that why it's a preferred choice, right? And that's the reason it touch base across horizontally, across different areas. The component of S&OP, what do we mean by S&OP in details? We will definitely cover as part of our training curriculum. And as a consultant, what I should know to implement S&OP would be also covered in details. Now, is it the only module within IBP? Answer is no. Although S&OP covers most of the horizontal processes, if any organization is only willing to utilize demand forecasting and use IBP for the same functionality, there is a dedicated module provided by SAP called as IBP for demand, which enables the organization to calculate statistical forecast, use conventional statistics algorithm to predict forecast, do a lot of time series analysis, understand the sales pattern, help demand planners to come up with the right decision making is covered within demand planning model. Within demand planning, you will also come across another smaller sub-process called as demand sensing, which is again within the short-term horizon to identify the sales order patterns and adjust your demands. That's why you would always see demand would also cover not only the demand planning in the midterm to long-term horizon, but also well supported by demand sanction functionality. Rest of the part is related to supply, right? So when somebody talks about supply planning, it is nothing but looking at the demand forecast, trying to identify the shortages within the supply chain and see how those shortages can be fulfilled, right? People who have experience to MRP, they would be able to relate that this functionality is nothing but calculating their replenishment proposals in terms of purchase equation, stock transfer equation, or planned orders. That's covered in the response and supply model. We will cover in details what response and supply functionality enables us. But from our curriculum perspective, we more focus on the time series based supply planning concept using heuristic as an algorithm, right? And in order to calculate supply planning, you would have also heard a conventional mechanism of calculating the safety stocks. That's covered in the inventory optimization part, right? So high level, broader level, you can say S&OP covers majority of the processes. But if an organization wants to implement a sub-process specific to demand, specific to inventory, or specific to supply, you have flexibility. And as Parminder mentioned, all those planning results can be then closely integrated with S/4HANA, right? Now, since we are talking about supply chain planning, collaborative process, it requires a lot of hand-holding for planners, like ability to understand alerts, ability to manage KPIs, ability to have some exceptional handling mechanism in order to support the decision making from planning perspective. So SAP brought up an advanced module to cover those using supply chain control tower. Right. So now looking at the list of modules what we have, you will visualize the depth of IBP. Right. In the curriculum, we will more focus in depth in the modules of sales and operations planning, demand planning, and supply planning. And since we talk about the need of this data to be integrated, we will also talk about a data integration mechanism, right? So the curriculum is designed in such a way that you, as a consultant, do not only understand technicality of the module, but you understand the processes from supply chain planning perspective, get a good grip on the process, act as a planner, think as a planner, and should be able to talk in the same terminology as a business user. And in order to support this business functionality, how IBP can be used to implement it. So the purpose is dual. Not only learn IBP technically, but learn the supply chain planning. The advantage of it is tomorrow, if you get an opportunity to work in any other application like Kinaxis, like O9, the change management will not be difficult for you because it will be only a screen change. The concept would still remain same. That's why the purpose is if I get good amount of understanding on supply chain planning process and able to deep dive on the IBP functionalities, configure IBP from scratch, understand how different use cases can be modeled using different settings available in IBP, that will help me to at least enhance myself as an overall supply chain planning consultant. And that opens up a wider possibility of not only getting into an IT domain related roles, but also getting into business domain related roles. That's the agenda of the curriculum. I'll quickly glance you through some of the IBP architecture. Now I'm coming to the some of the technical terminologies, right? And I'm sure most of you would not have heard about those terminologies because those are either related to IBP functionality or somewhere if you have experience in BW, etc., you would have got exposure to that. The central part, which is shown in this picture, is the overall IBP engine, which is called as a IBP model configuration. Within the model configuration becomes the high-level envelope, and we add all the configurations and setup required in terms of creation of new attributes, in terms of creation of new key figures, and so on, in order to support the implementation of IBP. So in our training, we will completely have a deep dive expertise on each of the model configuration elements. That's the core heart of the overall IBP. Rest is the supporting functionalities in order to execute those planning functions like demand forecasting, supply planning, and so on. Right? As we mentioned, IBP requires a close integration from master data as well as transactional data perspective. It can be integrated to as many applications via a middleware called as CIDS. Nowadays, the recent naming is CIDS, which is called as Cloud Integration for Data Services. It's an by default integration layer associated with IBP if we are talking about time series data. So you are hearing a lot of new terminologies now. I'm pretty sure that it requires time to digest this information, but do not worry, we will cover that in details during our curriculum. On the right side, you would also see as an user how I would be able to use IBP. What is the front end? So the best choice for utilizing IBP is Excel-based view. That means SAP enabled the Microsoft Excel functionality because that's the preferred ways of working for planners and embedded IBP in the backend. So although at times you would look like you are working on Excel, but in fact you would be working on IBP. How do you integrate that Excel front end with IBP setup? We will cover it during the training. Is it the only front end available? No. You also have web-based functionality available so that as a planner, you can also utilize some of the web-based functions and carry out your planning. And definitely it can be connected over mobile or tab so that you can collaborate easily. Although you as a sales representative working from the market can input your sales forecast using mobile or tab, right? Rather than waiting for getting into an office and then try to update the numbers. I take a pause. I would request you to look at the overall IBP architecture. All these parameters, what we are covering here, will be discussed in details, right? I will quickly glance you through the S&OP process also. I won't take much time here because it requires a dedicated amount of discussion. But as Parminder was mentioning, the S&OP cycle, if you look at it on the top of the screen, covers demand review, supply review, reconciliation, and the final S&OP in terms of management business review. So we will also have a visualized virtual understanding of how a sales and operation planning cycle would work in a typical organization and how it is linked to different processes within supply chain planning. Okay. When we talked about Excel-based view versus web-based ways of working, I'll quickly glance you through the screens. I'm just getting into an web-based screen now. I'll share my screen again. Okay. When you log into a web-based URL, you would see a different tiles associated with functions, and for each tile, you will have a Fury application associated with every activity. That means in IBP, there is no transaction code enabled. There is no SAP navigation, right? Compared to our ECC or S4 world. For every function, there will be a Fury application associated with it. If I, as an end user, work on a demand planning function, those respective Fury applications will be accessible by demand planner, and every function will have its own purpose. So we will have a deep dive on what exactly these Fury applications are about, how you can configure those, how you can use those, not only as a consultant, but as a planner, right? There are different dashboards, analytic charts you can create, configure, and use using web-based Fury applications. Another way of using IBP is an Excel-based front end. You see, it is an actually Microsoft Excel. However, in the backend, you would see an IBP add-on installed on it, so that from the front-end perspective, it looks like a Excel data. In the backend, it is the data fetched from IBP cloud-based database. We will also see what kind of planning views we can configure, how I as an user would use these planning views, modify the information in terms of either review of the information or updation of the information, right? Somebody is talking about statistical forecasting. How do I generate statistical forecast? What are functions available? You see here on the top screen, what is the use case of those functions, right? When somebody was talking about key figures, what does this key figure mean? What information it brings to a planner, and how this information can be utilized in the real world. So there are a lot of things to be learned from the supply chain planning perspective. I will quickly glance through you the curriculum what we have, right? So we start with IBP overview, and we get into a high level understanding of what is the IBP planning area architecture, right? It is similar to how do I set up my client instance? What are the different S&OP processes which are used by organizations? What is the best practice provided by SAP, and what could be the variations from different industry perspective? Different data integration concepts, how I as an IBP consultant will be able to design the data integration. And then we'll get into a hardcore configuration and setup part, where we'll talk about demand planning functionalities. How do I set it up? Time series supply planning heuristics, which will cover my supply planning side. As an IBP consultant, I should be able to design the roles and authorizations. We do not need to rely on any other basis consultant here. And how I can set up custom alerts as part of my control tower. So this curriculum will help you not only getting expertise in IBP, but also having a good amount of understanding on the different supply chain planning processes which are covered in a typical industry. So during these discussions, we normally tend to come up with the actual use cases from projects and see how those use cases can be configured or modeled, right? In our earlier SAP experience, we were more focusing on SPRO, configuration activity. Here, you would realize that it is more of a wearing a hat of planner and try to understand how this requirement can be modeled. That's why I'm not using a term called as configuration. We normally use a term called as modeling, and how I can model my IBP solution in order to provide different, or in order to enable different functionalities from supply chain planning. How we differentiate ourselves from other training institutes is we not only focused on PPT based training curriculum, it's a system based training curriculum. It is more interactive. We encourage participants to ask questions. We give a lot of assignments for them to understand different use cases from the modeling perspective. And as Parminder mentioned, we actually enable ourselves as an overall supply chain planning consultant. Right. With this, I think I'll take a pause. Parminder has already elaborated on the batch what we are aiming to start. One thing what I would request, in case if you enroll for this, I would also expect 100% dedication from your side. We want an interactive participation, not a passive participation, right? And we will enjoy the curriculum together, right? There could be specific questions in mind. When we talk about supply planning, we focus more on infinite heuristics, as there are additional algorithms available like finite heuristics or optimizer. With this curriculum covering 30 to 35 hours of time utilization, it may not be possible to cover all possible supply chain planning engines. We may plan deep dive curriculums separately for optimizer based concepts. But right now, we do not want to overcomplicate the things. The intention is we should have a good amount of understanding from supply chain planning. Once we have a maturity over that, then we get into a complex algorithms. Otherwise, participants tend to lose interest, right? But if somebody talks about infinite planning with heuristics, if the concepts are clear, you can also implement finite heuristics or optimizer with the same concept. The only thing is setup is a bit different, right? So we will first understand the concept of supply planning, what master data parameters influence the supply planning results, and I as a planner, how I'll be able to troubleshoot and mature the overall supply plan.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sam, for covering that. Anyone has any question, please put it onto the chat. I would be quickly covering that the career opportunities in IBP, and then whatever the questions you put here in the chat, we'll try to answer them, right? So any questions if you have, please put it onto the chat and let's go through the career opportunities and then we'll come back to your questions. But any questions, make sure you put it on the chat so that after I cover the career options, career opportunities, you would be able to will be able to go through your questions. Okay. Can you quickly confirm if you are able to see my screen? Put yes in the chat window quickly if you are able to see my screen. I have just reshared it. Thank you. Thank you very much for your responses. Now, one thing I am going to tell you, right, that IBP is complicated, right? It's not that easy. And I don't want to create any false picture in front of you. IBP in general is a complicated. It's not that the IBP is complicated. Planning as a subject is always complicated, right? And when we go into the sales operations planning, when we talk about the algorithms, when we talk about the different processes, right? So that process is always going to be complicated. What best thing is that we have Sam with us. Sam is a very popular training. He's not delivering the first IBP batch. He has delivered more than 10 IBP batches with us. And the way he train is he start from the very basic, very scratch, right? Even if you don't have a very good hand on the planning processes, still you would be able to understand because he also start in all our other trainings, like starting from the very basic business processes, try to make you that understand, and then how it happens in IBP. With that way he explains so that you would be able to understand. In today's session there would be a lot of terminologies would come to you, right? Because we have a very small window and we want to quickly give you a quick overview idea that might confuse you with a lot of terminology. But when you will go with the training in SAP with the Sam, He covers all the things strategically, step by step, explaining you in very detail, going through in Excel, taking examples there, and then explaining you there. So that way you would be able to understand. But make a note, as Sam has said, you will have to put a lot of efforts. IBP can generate beautiful fruits. The package which you will see, the numbers in the package you will see, it can deliver very high packages, right? But those all fruits will come when you put a lot of efforts. The complexer the topic is, the more efforts would be required from your side. So if you are here to put the efforts, we are here to support you to make sure that you get a job in SAP IBP. Now, the first question I'm going to try to answer: who can learn SAP IBP? SAP IBP is there for whom? One thing is that existing consultant, if you are already working in a stream and you see your growth become stagnant, then you want to upskill yourself, and you want to go ahead with the better opportunities. You want to go ahead, right? You want to increase your package, right? And you are looking for some niche module which has a demand in the market, but it has a very less number of resources. If you are the one who are looking for the freelancing opportunities, if you are the one who is looking for the overseas opportunities, right? These are the modules which has a high demand, but very few people available. You can tap on it. So existing consultants, specifically if you are APO consultant, it's mandatory, my dear friend, it's mandatory for you to learn IBP if you are a APO consultant. PP consultants are very good. PP consultants are very good participants to go with the IBP because of their planning, because they already know the planning MRP, so they have some idea about the planning. So you can upskill to IBP also. SD and MM consultant also, if you have a lot of experience in SD people get experience into the sales and operations planning. MM people get experience into the supplier planning. So those people also get into the IBP. Even FICO people also, in FICO also, finance also, there are some people out there who have experience to the finance planning, right? There are also separate finance planning tools are there. If they have experience to those tools, they can also upskill themselves to IBP. In a nutshell, if you have a good experience, 5 to 6 plus years of experience in a module, and if you want to learn IBP, IBP can be a module for you. If you have interest in the planning, if you have a strong interest in the planning, you can cross train yourself in IBP and you can start looking for the new opportunities which is coming in IBP. If you are working in a domain and you have an enriched planning experience, if you are working in a domain and you are working as a planner, you are handling these kind of tools, you are handling Kinexes or another tools in the planning, or even complex Excel sheets you are handling in the plannings, right? You have a core experience as a planner. You can do the IBP. Okay, you can do the IBP. You can learn the IBP. If you are freshers, okay, if you are freshers, you can also learn IBP. If you are complete fresher are there. Now with IBP, you will be able to get two kind of jobs, my dear friend. First kind of job you would be able to get from the IBP is kind of a, you can become a IBP end user or IBP key user. Second, you can become IBP consultant. Even if your freshers are there, my advice would be there, learn IBP and try to go for a jobs which is where you would be working as an IBP key user or IBP end user. And make a note of it. Make a note of it. In this market, IBP end users are even earning more than the conventional SAP modules consultants. So IBP end user can earn more than SDMMPP consultants because it's niche in nature. IBP end user also have 80% consultant mindset because the module itself is complex. So to handle those modules, you need expertise. Because you need expertise, so wherever the planner related jobs are there in US, Canada, right? They need a planners. They need the planners who would be knowing these kind of tools so that they can understand these tools and they can work on these tools. So even after going through this training, you can also go and opt for the opportunities where you would be working as an IBP end user. And it can be if you are working in domain, does not have any consulting experience. If you're working as a fresher, does not have any experience, you can start with IBP end user. And again, I'm quoting, IBP end user can earn more than the conventional SAP consultants, right? And after this course, you can also become IBP consultants also. So the both kind of streams are available where you would be able to jump in. If you're already working as a consultant, then you would be jumping as a consultant. If you're working in domain, you can jump in the consultant or start with IBP end user. If you are a complete fresher, then start with IBP end user. That would be our suggestion to so that you have more knowledge onto the business after this training. So what kind of career opportunities? What kind of career opportunities you would be having? So you can work onto the core job roles. What kind of core job roles is there? SAP IBP functional consultant, you can become it. You can become SAP IBP technical consultant. IBP technical consultant, if you would be able to become after doing this IBP course, you need to do some another courses. You need to do some CPI courses also to become the technical consultant in the IBP, right? To become the technical consultant. So know the IBP functionality, then know have a do another course on CPI integration so that you can become a IBP technical consultant. You can become an IBP demand planner and supply planner. You can update into your CVs as IBP demand planner and supply planner, and go into the market as a core user, super user, or end user. Okay, so these are the end user kind of jobs. A lot of jobs are available, right? And you can also jump into those jobs areas. You can also start with the IBP, not start, you can also become IBP solution architect. But for that solution architect, at least you need to work for 3 years as an IBP consultant. Then you would be able to go into the solution architect. Solution architect is like Sam is a solution architect. He has 20 plus years experience in planning, worked in PP, worked in APO, worked in IBP, knows about Kinexus also, right? Then he is the guy who can become a solution architect. IBP support analyst, you can also work into the IBP support kind of roles are also there. Now, these support roles are starting getting increasing, right? And they're basically, they need less experienced people. When last 4 or 5 years, it was more implementation, implementation, implementation. It will still continue, but now those implementations are converting into the support. So a lot of support business analyst is required. You can also go for a IBP support analyst role. If you have a less consulting experience, then if you have less implementation experience, you would be going into the support role first, which is also good. A lot of learning you will get as an IBP support analyst also. Business process expert, you can also become a business process expert. This is also kind of a business analyst role. Again, the business process expert in IBP is kind of a key user or a super user. You can become it. Which industries are hiring IBP talent? Almost all set of industry: FMCG, pharma, automotive, retail, high tech, aerospace, chemical industry. They all have planning related issues. They all have S&OP issues. They all industries are implementing the planning tools, and IBP is one of them, which many industries are opting to, which is creating a lot of demand in these industries for the end users who can handle the IBP, and for the consultants also who can help in the implementation. Key skills, yeah, this you need to do. What are the key skills you need to add? We have our trainings available. You can jump into the Sastra Geek trainings. We have self-paced training available. You can go through that. We have instructor-led trainings available. Repeated batch we do in a year. You can join that. Or we have a one-to-one sessions also available. If you have a specific problems in your project, on job support you need it, or you have an interview coming it up, you need somebody to sit with you to quickly make you sure that in 5 6 sessions you become capable in for giving the interviews. That kind of supports are required. We do one-to-one sessions also. Okay, so that one-to-one sessions are separately charged. You can write it to support@sastrageek.com based on your requirement. Sam or some another consultants can jump in to help you for that, right? And we have done for many in US, Germany, Europe, Canada. We have many people came to us who was interview aligned, and some people got into the job and they were struggling, and Sam and other people, other consultant has supported them so that they can withstand after having 3 to 6 months of support. Now they are working as an independent IBP consultants. Key skills that make you stand out. So go through the training, right? Go through the training first thing, have a good hands-on, but make sure that you have a forecasting and statistical modeling skills you get add on. So we would be training you on some part of it because, but the business part of it, parallelly you try to learn, you try to understand, go into the Google and try to search what are the different forecasting models, what are the different statistical models. Knowledge on them would be important to learn IBP. Some knowledge on supply chain network planning we will be giving in our from our side, but from your side also you can put some little additional efforts to know the supply chain network planning, what kind of problems are there, what kind of issues business are facing. You would be able to learn IBP better. IBP configurations, planning area, attribute, key figures, everything. We will do it. No prerequisite, no nothing is required from your side. We will cover all of this to you. Fiori UI, Excel add-in, what is required, we will be training you. Integration skills only from the consultant level. Until unless you want to become a technical consultant in IBP, you need to jump into the deeper integration skills. Otherwise, some basic integration skills from a functional consultant point you should know. That also will train you in this training session. So nothing extra required from your side. Business communication and stakeholder handling. IBP, if you're implementing IBP, you would be discussing with the business a lot of things, and they would be talking to you that you are expert. When they are talking to you, they are not talking only that you are IBP expert, they also expect that you know everything about the planning, right? So one thing which helps you a lot is your stakeholder handling and the business communication management. So try to improve your, and this is not only for IBP. IBP definitely is a little bit more because of its complexity in the nature, but any consulting job require the skills. Try to improve your communication, try to improve your stakeholder management. That also parallel to this job, parallel to this training, if you will do, you would be able to clear your interviews easily, and you would also be able to withstand the pressure which will come as a consultant job, right? So that are the quick things I have covered, that what kind of career opportunities are there after getting this training, what kind of jobs you can look for in IBP. Monetary wise, it's great, it's amazing, right? I don't want to tell you the figures because figures depends a lot on your current salary, what you are getting it on, that it depends. But in the average market you can get a hike of 30-40% when you're switching the job. IBP you can expect the hike from 70 to 100% also. I have few people who jumped for more than 100% also after learning IBP. Okay, so that is the quick thing from our side. We have covered about basics of planning, different tools, what is IBP, what are the different sub modules are there in IBP, right? That we have covered. What kind of curriculums we cover in the IBP, that we have covered, and uh, we have also tried to cover that what kind of job opportunities are there once you complete the IBP trainings. The link for the trainings is available on the chat. My team has already provided. If you want to go for a full instructor-led training with the server access, we have given the link. You can opt from there. If you just want to go through a self-paced training, that links also has been provided. You can go through those trainings also. Any questions if you have, quickly let me know quickly on the chat. If you have any questions, we'll be answering those questions and we'll be ending the session. By chance, there are so many things coming on the chat. If we have missed any of your question, feel free to drop us on support@shastrageek.com, and my team, if they don't know the answer, they will be reaching out to me. They will be reaching out to Sam, and we make sure that we'll provide answers to you. I have one of the question. Interface architecture is covered. External systems like APO, APS, BY to S4 HANA. Sam, would you like to answer this? Sam, are you still there? I think Sam got dropped off due to some technical issue. So interface architecture would be covered. What we do it from the functional side of it. We don't jump into the technical side of it, but whatever the functional side of it you need to know, that would be covered. Support team, can you connect with Sam? Ask him to join. Okay, I will park some of the questions and then we'll proceed ahead. Whatever the questions I am parking, if Sam, due to technical issues, he is not able to join again, we'll answer those questions from support@sastrageek.com. Okay, we'll note down those questions and we'll get them answered. I am a production planner. Can I learn? Can I learn? Yes, as a production planner, you would be able to learn. If you have a good knowledge on planning, IBP you can learn for sure. Few questions Sam has already answered in the chat. I will skip. Okay, the batch information also has been provided. The question is, will self-paced training enough to come expert as an IBP complex topics? No, it is not about self-paced training. It's about or the instructor-led training. It's about that whatever the way you want to do the training, right? So there are some people we have you can write it to support@sastrageek.com. They would be letting you know that what are the instructor-led timing batches are available. And let's say the self-paced training is if the batch time does not suit to you, and some people always want to learn on their own pace. They want to sit whenever they have time and they want to learn in that pace. If that kind of learning more suits you, then it is self-paced training. We always prefer the instructor-led trainings. You can jump into the instructor-led training that are disciplined training. The batch would be scheduled, the timing would be scheduled. You need to jump in, you need to sit and complete that. That is always more disciplined. You would be able to have interaction with the trainer. You would be able to ask your question and clear your doubts. All these function features would be available. But there are some persons the timing would not suit to them. They would not be available at that time and they would more interested. Okay, you give me the course, I have interviews next 15 days, I would just want to cover quickly everything, so I want a self-paced, right? So it depends on what mode you are more comfortable to get yourself trained, right? Okay, a lot of questions related to the fees and everything. The links has been provided. You can go through the links and you can subscribe it. When it comes to the broader demand and best monetary benefits, long term, which one would you suggest, EWM, TM, or IBP? See, I always tell that you can have a specific modules which are niche in nature, and every module you will find the people who are earning very high, and on the same modules you will find the people who are completely lacking. They are not getting the jobs also, right? So when you need to select between EWM, TM, or IBP, right? All three modules are good, and you can have a very good earnings in these three modules. If you have a very strong hold on these modules, you can reach on very high earnings, right? And you will find that some IBP consultants are earning low than the TM. Many IBP consultants are learning higher than the TM. Those kind of things you will find it out. But what should be the right module for you should come from your interest level. If you're more interested in the planning, go for IBP. If you're more interested into the transportation solution, transportation planning, right? That transportation planning or transportations, the delivery scheduling, that is what freight planning, that's what interests you more, than go for TM. If you are more into the inventory management, warehouse management, how the inventory would be stored, right? How the warehouse would be managed. You have a lot of experience related to handling the warehouse. You have seen the multiple different warehouse, how the working happens there. That exposure you have more, and your interest is also more in that area. Go for EWM. Go for EWM. We have trainings for EWM, we have training for TM, we have training for IBP, SGMM, PPFICO, ABAP, every training we have. We are not the institute which will guide you because I am giving IBP training, I should push you for IBP. That thing we don't do it, right? Whatever feels right for you, you should opt for it, right? So try to ask yourself that in this area, warehouse management, transportation, or planning, which you have more exposure to you in your previous experience, or which you have very much interest in. Nahi yaar, ye planning things is very interested, let me try to put my hand in it. Try to find your exposure and interest and select based on that, not only on the monetary perspective. Okay, there might be a few questions because Sam need to drop off. We have we have missed. So please drop any question which is not answered. We'll also try to find it out and try to answer through email. But feel free to drop us on support@sastrageek.com. My team will be sharing the email address, and my team will also share you the WhatsApp. Please try to put your questions there, and we would be happy to respond to your all the questions and queries. Thank you everyone for joining. I'm very happy that you have taken time out from your busy lives and busy schedules and given this time. I hope from this session, at least you would be having some understanding about planning, some understanding about the different tools and products available in the planning, some understanding ki bhaiya, what is IBP, some understanding who can learn IBP and what kind of career opportunities there in IBP. So thank you all for joining today's session. We'll connect you back in the future, more sessions like this, and bye bye for now.